Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. Today I'm just going to dive into my complete thoughts on the market. Over on X, I've been talking a lot about how I'm feeling like quite bearish in the short term, but in the long term I am really bullish. And I just want to get into all of it. I'm going to break down each individual part of my confusion one by one, and hopefully then you can see the picture that I'm seeing. And it's up to you what you do with that information. So to start with, mainly because my computer's struggling, I'm just going to close trade indifferent. And this is no particular order. There's a lot of liquidity below us at 46,000 to 49,000 Bitcoin. Do I think we go there? I don't know. Open interest is really high, like as high as it has been when we've been back at these levels, but also what we've seen after the open interest gets as high as we do have a pullback. As you can see below, this is where the open interest becomes high. We're literally at that exact same level. We have a pullback, or last time we were in this sort of areas here, we have a pullback all the way flush down in open interest in price. So does that mean we're going to get the same thing? I don't know. If you zoom in like close time, like to shorter time period, you can see we've got liquidity above us between 66,000. Then if you get into that area, you can then look at the liquidity above that, 67k. So what does that mean? Again, unsure in terms of short term, but that's one thing to take into consideration. With that being said, let me just quickly show you on the daily. In the past, when we've got to areas like this before, I've been comparing this area to 24k, and I can show you that over on Velo very quickly. If this loads, let's just see if it does. My computer's struggling. It's probably because I'm recording and I've got loads of things open. But basically, there was liquidity here, and it gets left behind when we start our next phase of the bull market. And I was comparing where we were to this area here, and I've shown you that in recent videos. But even in this area, we do have a push up and then a pullback before we send. So again, 50-50 on that. So that's Bitcoin. Let me just also say though, I am postured to be in a very good position if we're long. I'm 95% spot. This is just my short-term thesis that something just isn't quite adding up to me. So let me just get that all completely out there so you understand my position. Okay, adding on to that, why am I long in the medium to long term? Well, one of the reasons is the DXY Bitcoin relationship that we've talked about a lot. Bitcoin lags the DXY by about 71 days, and from the high back in 2023 to the low, the DXY took about 71 days until Bitcoin started to see the inverse correlation in the performance off the bottom. The DXY basically made all of its downward move before Bitcoin came up off the bottom. So that would take us to the 7th of October, which gives us 2 weeks. Okay, that's the thing. It's like we've got this 2 week period, 3 week, 4 week period where I'm just like, I don't know. And now I'm just going to get into each individual area one by one. But I'm basically just showing you, I think liquidity is picking up. As you can see, I've written about it in the newsletter for like 3 or 4 weeks now. So if you want to check that out, my more long-term thesis and why I think we're going to like start picking up to early to mid-October, as you can see in the middle of the screen here. So I was writing about this is from 3 weeks ago. When was this exactly from? This was published on the 31st of August, 3 weeks ago. So yeah, go and check that out. Sorry, I don't know if my phone's vibrating in my hand. No, it's not. It's just something else that's vibrating weird. Anyway, go and check that out if you want to see some more of my thoughts. And we touch more on that in each different week. So getting into everything. First off, USD JPY. Bank of Japan came out and said they're going to leave interest rates unchanged this week. And that's actually given some strength back to the dollar against the yen. This has provided the foundation for equities to rally this week, and they're at all-time highs. Is this going to continue back to the upside? What does this mean for the future? I don't know. This crash here was when we had a big pullback in equities. Definitely keep your eye on the USD JPY. I think it's an integral part of our like scope of analysis right now. But currently we've had the pullback. This is probably where you'd be looking to see if there was going to be a continuation to the downside, in terms of is the JPY going to continue to gain strength. Again, this is something that looks pretty unclear to me. We've actually broken the recent low of 140. We swept that low, 139. So is that a structural break? Again, right now I don't know. We could see a path like this, maybe to here and down potentially, or we could go to here and down, or we could go to here and up. So like it just depends on what. By the way, this is government movement, in my opinion, of capital flow here and in this currency pair. So next, I wanted to quickly touch on oil. Oil's at $71, pretty low. You would expect it to be low, in my opinion, going into elections. People want low gas prices, so it's good for elections. I said in the newsletter, two things I could guarantee before the election are oil's going to be cheap and equities are going to be high. Right now they are. But then at the other hand of that often also leads to, or at least correlates with inflation. When oil prices are low, inflation is low, and that's what's happening at the minute. But then to counterbalance that, on the other side of the spectrum, we've got gold. Gold is I've been talking about this a lot. Gold's now at $2,627. I'm going to put gold market cap so we can see what the market cap of gold is. $17.7 trillion in gold right now. Astronomical amount of capital, that is. Thinking about that crypto is like, what, 2 trillion right now. This is one of the things I've been saying is like, gold is at all-time highs. Why is it so high? You can argue that gold price has been suppressed. Central banks are buying gold for whatever reason. Like, you might be able to put a narrative on it. But one thing I can say is that historically, when gold price rallies, there's an issue somewhere. Like there is a problem somewhere. Why do people move to gold? Why would you move to gold? If there wasn't an issue, you'd just sit in cash and take yield off something else. Supposedly, that's the argument. Or you'd sit in equities, but equities are also at all-time highs. So this is why, like, in this period, and you can say, oh yeah, it's because of monetary debasement, they're printing more money. They haven't been, and last week they cut by 50 bips, but gold's been going up since January. So if you're saying, okay, yeah, the price has been suppressed, whatever, for gold, why is it starting to break out right now? This massive expansion in gold price tells, if you look at it from a pure technical perspective, tells me something's fundamentally wrong. That's what it tells me. That's what I'm looking at. That being said, I do think that when gold starts to cool off, if it starts to cool off, I think some of the capital will rotate into crypto, and that's one of the things I'm looking at as a catalyst. Next, the DXY. The DXY is chilling at the bottom of a range at 100. I've been talking about this for a while, how I think this is a top, like a topping pattern here. If the DXY breaks down, it could come down towards 95, and if it has an overextension, it could come all the way down to 90, as low as maybe 89. It's been ranging the DXY. It's at the bottom of a range, but the time at the bottom of a range is when, if you're a trader, you think of you would be longing in terms of like just technically. It's kind of the same, but the opposite for Bitcoin, inverse correlation. I also do think that, as we talked about, there's like 2 weeks potentially that I think, or maybe more, that we could have like negative price action, because I was calling for the DXY to bounce up to like this level here. So the DXY bounced up to like 1025, somewhere around here, before then continuing down. So that's the DXY. Then let's continue to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at the middle of this is a clear range between 72,000 and about 50,000. Let's use this as support, or you can even use this area here, 53,000 as support. I don't know why my computer's going so mad. I'm sorry if you can hear it. But we're in the middle of the range right now. Still haven't broken our recent swing high, and people are getting super bullish in this area, whilst open interest has picked up a ton, and we're at the same level in terms of open interest as we were when we were at this level. And last time we rejected this level, we flushed down, and we didn't even flush out all the open interest from the time before. So like, what I'm saying is there's as much interest as open interest as there was here. And even on the last pull down, we didn't get rid of a lot of the open interest. So maybe that's to the short side. Maybe there's a lot of shorts that we could squeeze out of the market. That's potential. But I've just shown you the trade in different charts with the liquidity pools. Yes, there is open interest above us, but does that mean we're going to head there straight away? If you look purely from a trading perspective, you trade, if you're a trader, you short the highs and you long the lows. So people getting bullish at the swing highs isn't necessarily the best thing. Like, we've got this swing high to break, and then we've got this area to break, and then we've got this area to break, and we're already, in my opinion, like max bullish. Like, people are calling for the bull runs restarted and like all this sort of stuff, and we've just seen a few weeks of like straight up green basically. So that's why I'm unsure on Bitcoin. And then also with that, we've got equities. If we look at the S&P, equities are at all-time high, and supposedly, in inverted commas, the US economy is weak enough for the Fed to be cutting rates, not just 25 basis points, but 50. So, but equities are at all-time high. Like, you cut rates to stimulate the economy generally. You can use the example that a lot of people are talking about, and unemployment rates, whatever. But equities being at all-time high doesn't scream to me weakness. There could be other areas of weakness. For example, have the Fed recognized something that they are more concerned about than we maybe consider? But then on the other side of that is, if they have recognized something, and that's why they've cut 50 bips, they're also showing us that they're willing to do whatever they can to solve the problem, because people could panic on the 50 basis point cut. So again, like, I'm flip-flopping on everything that I see. Like, I want us to be ready to march into a bull market. My main concerns, there's a mixture of alts that look completely different, and that blows my mind a little bit as well. So I keep picking on it, but to me looks weak. Looks like it's going to take an absolute shit. Genuinely looks like it's going to drop, like its arse is going to drop out. But then things like XRP, and I know I talk about XRP a lot, and I have bias because I hold a lot of the token, doesn't look like that. This looks like accumulation, and Sol looks like distribution. So how can that happen at the same time if we're going to go into this raging bull that everyone thinks we're going to go into? It's almost completely different to things we've seen before. Things like AVAX look pretty good. Are they starting to break out to the upside? Tau is breaking out to the upside. For example, look at the state of some of these charts. They're really like breaking out of key levels, which is bullish, and that's a good sign. But then at the same time, you're seeing things like Sol, which has been the early mover and like leader of the market, looking like it needs to shit the bed. And Bitcoin being at the middle of a range. Like, I'm so confused as to where to posture here that I almost can't even make content. I don't know what to tell you guys. We've got bearish divergence on the Bitcoin dominance chart, but then it keeps grinding through it. We've had this bearish divergence forming since October 23, but it keeps grinding higher. So is that going to continue? Is Bitcoin going to take some more liquidity out of the market and people going to rotate into Bitcoin? In my opinion, would happen if we have an explosive move up in Bitcoin, or if we have a pullback, because Bitcoin normally holds stronger in pullbacks. And that's basically my thought process as of right now for everything that's like going through my head. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Like, I'm not here being a bear because I want to be a bear, and I'm not even necessarily bearish. My main concern is gold. Like, and I've put this 3-month chart out a while ago that not many people looked at, but I was basically saying on a 3-month chart, when gold hits the overbought territory, it goes into a pretty aggressive bull market. That's true from 1971. Then we moved up 300% when we moved into the overbought area. That's true from 1978 when we moved up 178% until we crossed back down below the overbought area. That's true from 2005 when we crossed back down in 2013. But then this was indicate. Then the 2008 crash, remember, happened in 2008, obviously. But this gold was like pre-shadowing that. Maybe gold's telling us there's going to be a crash in 2 or 3 years, and people are starting to position now. Like, I don't know what the answer is, but it's also saying that we could be moving up towards like a $7,400 gold. So maybe I'm just early on this thought process. Maybe we're about to go to a rip-roaring bull market, which would work in terms of my thesis, is something different and something is going to happen. That's what I feel like. That the gold's telling us that. That's the biggest indicator. At the same time, the DXY is dropping to, like, potentially going to drop down into these sorts of areas. Like, it just something looks different. And if you actually look at the DXY in a zoomed out perspective, I've talked about this before and no one really likes to talk about it, but the DXY is just creating a series of higher lows, of lower lows and lower highs. Lower high, lower high, lower high. If we reverse here, lower low, lower low. Imagine if we come down to 68 for the DXY. Like, things just look, the puzzle doesn't add up completely. It feels like something is coming. I feel like it's potentially bearish because of gold and because of Bitcoin being the way that it's trading in the middle of a range and people getting bullish. But I also could be wrong. I've tried to show you exactly what I think here, guys. I hope you understand where I'm sitting now and why I'm so confused. Maybe I just need some time away from the charts to refresh. I don't know. I sit here and look at them and they're all telling me different pictures. And like, I look at some things like SUI, it looks pretty good, but then I also think SUI could have a pullback. Like, when things move up pretty aggressively, they normally have a pullback. I'd love to have some questions in the comments and like some constructive thoughts in the comments, because I think people just reiterate what other creators have said. If you've got an opinion or a thought, please let me know, because I would like to see what other people are thinking and see where my gaps are here, and to see if anything fits into the puzzle. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I feel like just ranting at you. But hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.